Hello, welcome back. I am in the mood to read something cool. That's a weird description, but we'll get into it. I just finished Two Twisted Crowns, and throughout this whole experience that I had, I was like, okay, I kind of want to read another fantasy. I kind of want to read Jurassic Park. And no, that's it. That's just all I wanted to read. So I thought Jurassic Park just kept coming up in the back of my mind for these past few months since I got this, which was in January. So it's been a month. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna fulfill this. So this is what we're doing. I feel like I think I'm in the mood for it, but we could always end up not being in the mood for it. That's happened to me a few times where I start to read something and then I just don't vibe with it right now and then I move on to something else. But here's to hoping I'm in the mood for it. Let's open this up. This is something we're gonna do. And we're gonna take really good. Sorry, I caught a whiff of it and I was like, okay, I don't know why I keep stepping this. Anyways, for this video, as of right now, we're just doing Jurassic Park. It's a special edition that includes both books, but right now we're just gonna be doing the first one and then we'll see how things go. And if I want to add the second one in there, we can do that. But yeah, I got really interested in this. I said this a few times as well, that I saw this thing on TikTok because the new Jurassic Park movie is coming out this year, and I saw that it'd be really cool if they made it into a horror movie, and I was like, yeah, you're right, that would be very cool. And apparently people who have read the book said that there are more horror elements in Jurassic Park than there ever were in any of the movies. So yeah, the first movie's my favorite, I'm not gonna lie to you, better than all of the other ones, and the third one was another favorite of mine. And then you can put the rest in whatever order you want. The first one and the third one, okay? That's all I have to say. Anyways, so it'll be I feel like you know the story of Jurassic Park. It might be different from what happened in the movie, but this is gonna be a spoiler reading vlog. Just putting that out there. I'll include a non-spoiler review at the end, so if you want to skip to that, you can do that now. And if not, we can just get started on this little reading vlog. I'll see you later. I want to start this today, so I'll see you later. Bye. Hello. It is the same day. It is 10:50. We're just gonna start Jurassic Park. I did flip open this page and it shows the map. Oh, I'm gonna show you. This is what I wanted to show you. It's the map of the island. And then we have our title page. Now, while reading this book, I hope you know that the Jurassic Park theme song is going to be playing in my head the entire time, probably. This book has 400 pages. First chapter is a prologue, I guess, just an introduction, the InGen incident, and then I'll update you. I feel like if you're watching this, you watched the movie, so I'm hoping there are no spoilers for you, but this is a spoiler video either way. I don't know how much this differs from the movie, but I guess we'll find out together, and I'll point out anything crazy, anything new, and yeah. I feel like I know the Jurassic Park story, but it's been a while since I've watched it. I know kind of the progression of things, but it's been a while, so I don't think anything's gonna be surprising, just refreshing my memory and things like that. But I'll see you today or tomorrow with updates, and I'll tell you how far I got into it. Okay, bye! The first iteration. Ian Malcolm. Jeff Goldblum. Spotted. Live, laugh, love. Jeff Goldblum. That's all I have to say. Just one thing. I think I should be reading this in the summer. We're in March, but it's still very much cold outside. It's 21 degrees. We're in the double digits at least, but first of all, this is what I'm looking at. And on top of that, it said just now what I just read, and what caused this whole thing between you and me right now is it's a beautiful morning in July on the west coast of Costa Rica, on the edge of a cliff overlooking the jungle and the blue Pacific. None of my surrounding is giving July, a coast, or the blue Pacific. And the title of the chapter is Almost Paradise. So I feel like right now it's just calling the attention that this is a summer book. So if you want to read this, I would suggest the summer. Plus, I feel like if you're ever reading this outside at night by a fire and a slight breeze sweeps over the trees and you're reading about a dinosaur chasing someone, you're like, yo, is that is that a dinosaur? You know, it kind of gives that illusion, but right now I'm just like, nowhere. Like a dinosaur is nowhere near me in any way, shape, or form, even in my mind. I hope you know what I'm trying to say, but whatever. Oh my god, 34 pages in, and we finally made it to Alan Grant. I hope you know that I'm not joking when I say that the music started playing in my head when I saw his name. Okay, we're gonna talk about what I read tomorrow, but I'm gonna read a little bit more, and that'll be it for the night. Okay, bye. Okay, let's talk a little bit. It's the next day. I read 51 pages yesterday. Haven't read anything today, but I wanted to go through everything that I read because it's interesting. And only on page 30 did we meet Alan Grant. Yeah, okay. Really interesting. In the beginning, the first, like the prologue, if you will, is kind of like more science-y. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. I was just kind of like concerned. I wasn't really concerned. I knew it was like a little prologue and like a little background story, kind of like how you read in like news articles. So they're saying, oh, like this happened with this company and that's why this and this is happening and that's how this whole thing came about, sort of situation. But so that was, it took me a little bit to get through, but it's fine. So there are dinosaurs in Costa Rica, just the little 1 foot tall dinosaurs, not raptors, nothing like that, just 1 inch tall. Could be mistaken for lizards if lizards are 1 inch tall on their hind legs. Sorry, my dog came to visit me. He wants to leave. As we were saying, there are lizards in Costa Rica. They're 1 foot high, 1 foot tall, and they sit on their hind legs. If I remember the movie correctly, I don't think we ever got an instance where dinosaurs somewhat on the mainland. I don't think we ever got that, at least not until like what, the second movie. But that, the way the story is told is like interesting because I was just like imagining like, what if you were, it was the 1990s and you're picking up Jurassic Park for the first time, and the way I kind of like saw this was that it's kind of like a mystery. If you don't know anything, like it's actually really entertaining. And I myself, and I'm like, if I was reading this for the first time, I'd be like, what do they need this amber for? Why is he putting so much? We'll get to that. So in the first few pages already, they're dinosaurs, little 1 foot tall little lizard things, attacked 3 people already, ate a baby, and attacked a 7 or 8 year old little girl. She's important, but I just really like the way the story progresses, especially before we even met Alan. But I just like the way the story progresses, so we could be following one character for the whole chapter, and by the end of the chapter we'll meet someone else who's important and who they talk to, and then the next chapter kind of like really easily flows into that character. And I just thought it flowed really nicely, and I was like, I'm into it. I'm really into it. It just flows really organically, and it's something that I picked up on. So we're gonna get back to the little girl who was bitten, but going into the Alan stuff, he actually, like, I feel like in the movie we see John Hammond come in here and he's like, yo, like, you should come to my island. I, once again, do not remember the beginning of that movie very well, but I feel like there's so much more that ties John Hammond in with Alan that makes sense that he would want to go to the island. I can't remember if they say it in the movie. They could, and I'm just totally oblivious. Or this could be like much more developed than the screenplay was, you know what I mean? So Alan is a paleontologist, and right now he is specializing in digging up nests, like dinosaur nests. So he's specializing in like baby dinosaurs, so he's like doing his brush stuff and like getting the fossils of the baby dinosaurs. And this is funded by John Hammond, who he thinks is just like a real rich dinosaur lover, and that's the reason why he is funding this. But before this, he was a consultant for John Hammond that we figure out when this other character comes into play. But basically, John Hammond and his whole business was like, oh, we'll give you $50,000 if you kind of answer our questions. And so the nest kind of that he's involved in is a certain species of dinosaur. So this guy who works for John Hammond was asking Alan all these questions like, oh, like how long until baby dinosaurs fully developed? Oh, hypothetically, what would this baby dinosaur be eating at this stage? All of this stuff. So we figure this out when a character from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, I believe, comes investigating. So basically this guy is looking for any wrongdoing that John Hammond could be involved with in his company, since the certain sectors, like listen, I don't want to get too into the scientific side of things, but basically this certain science has a very unrestricted sort of form. There's no laws on it whatsoever. So this guy from the EPA is looking into John Hammond to see if he's doing anything sketchy, and he was like, oh, like we saw that he hired you for consulting, what was that about? And that's when he tells him it was about the baby dinosaur, and he was like, oh, like by chance is there anything else he could have like used this information for? And he was like, yeah, to like feed a baby dinosaur. And the way John Hammond is making things seem to be is that he's making a museum on an island in Costa Rica that will have a children's section, which is why he wants to know about these baby dinosaurs, because he thought it would be cool for children to learn about this baby dinosaur, which is why he hired John Hammond. You know what I mean? But yeah, he wants to learn about the baby dinosaur, but because you and me both know he is raising these baby dinosaurs, and that's why he wants to know. Okay? But nobody knows because it's so out of left field. Like, imagine if Jurassic Park never existed. Would you imagine that somebody was growing dinosaurs in a lab? That'd be crazy. It'd be insane. So going back again to the 1 foot tall dinosaur in Costa Rica, this dinosaur bit a little girl, and this little girl goes to the hospital, and they're like, oh, she was bitten by something, I don't know what it was, but she drew a picture of it because she was doing the school assignment where she had to like draw all of these animals that she saw in Costa Rica. She was like, oh, it was a lizard with 3 toes, and lizards don't have 3 toes, or like, oh, you have to be wrong. Anyway, this blood sample gets sent out to a lab, and the lab is kind of trying to trace where it came from and what lizard it could possibly come from, and it doesn't match anything. So the scientist guy who met this little girl is now going out into the field looking for this lizard, because he was like, never seen it, maybe it's some undetected like species that we could forward to a university for them to look into what it is. So he sees the 3 toes, bitten by a monkey, has it in his mouth, and he was like, that's it, I'm gonna take it with me. And so he takes it, he sends it off to Colombia. He sends it to a specialist, and they're like, what is this? Eventually it makes its way back to Alan. Okay, so when Alan gets this x-ray of this dinosaur, he's just very excited about the fact that he just found a fossil of a 3 or 4 month old dinosaur, and he's like super excited about it. He's talking to Ellie about it, and they're just like, wow, like this could be huge. And meanwhile he has an x-ray of a recently deceased dinosaur, and I'm thinking, like, if this was like the real world, you know what I mean, like eventually his job would be completely obliterated, because there would now be scientists who have way more information than he ever could have gotten out of the fossils. Like, they have live animals that they could study, they have recently like deceased dinosaurs that they could figure things out from. Like, eventually Alan's out of a job, and I just found that, like, I feel like something that's never quite explored, like the whole, I feel like, you know, paleontology is just so much more than dinosaurs, but I mean, there are people who specialize in dinosaurs and then they're just gonna have to move on, and that's just kind of sad, because they framed their entire life's work about dinosaurs and now they're just out of a job. I was also thinking, I say this all the time, how if Jurassic Park was real though, I would go, because that, I feel like, I mean, if you think that everything's gonna go all right, it would be so cool to see dinosaurs. And I feel like that's just the most logical thing anybody could ever do, like go to Jurassic Park to see them. But anyway, I've been talking for way too long and we need to get back into this, but that is all I wanted to talk about right now. We're gonna get to reading, and let's see if we can read another 50 pages. I'll see you later. And I'm actually really into it, so I love to talk a lot when I'm into something. So yeah, I'll be back. I'll see you later. Bye. Okay, I found Jurassic Park ambience. So that's what I'm listening to today. They're playing the song. Do you hear that? This is such a good theme. Okay, something about that song just makes me so happy. I don't know what it is. I think it's nostalgia. 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 It really is nostalgia. It really is, because I love hearing it. It's like I get really happy. I don't know what it is. Everyone walks into my room here. I can't read in peace. My dog just left. That scared me. A new area of my room unlocked. It's just a blank wall. I wasn't gonna talk about my book right now. It's the next day. But I was on TikTok like 20 minutes ago. And it's funny because I was like, listen, it's related to what we're reading about, okay? I was on TikTok. This is related to what we're reading. And I see this. Woolly mouse marks huge step in bringing back the woolly mammoth. Did we not learn anything from this? I know I'd said I'd like to visit it, but BFFR, you know what I mean? Like, this is not something we're supposed to do. And they mixed woolly mammoth. I don't want to give you false scientific information. Take this lightly from what I'm telling you. I'm just saying what I saw. The woolly mouse. Did you hear that?
Trying to bring back extinct species.
So we did not know that they would be this adorable, which makes us even more excited about them.
You're trying to bring back extinct animals. You already know they're trying to bring back the woolly mammoth. They're gonna want to bring back dinosaurs. And what do? We set them out into the wild. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not being crazy, right? Like, this is what we're reading about. So basically what they're trying to do is bring back the woolly mammoth, but it wouldn't be like a real natural, like, woolly mammoth, obviously. It would be an elephant with DNA, edited DNA of a woolly mammoth. That's what they did to the mice. And now you just have a woolly mouse. No, but like, you... The look on my face when I heard this, I was like, this is so funny, because I am literally reading about this and reasons why you should not do this. Like, do I need to hand it to them and be like, yo, maybe read this before you go messing around? Like, my idea is like, where are you gonna keep these extinct animals? No doubt. Listen, this ties into what I actually read last night, and it's kind of crazy. Tying that into what we read yesterday, we got to the fact that they're on their way to the park. Still no idea what it's about. But they have created 238 dinosaurs and 15 species. And they're, obviously in the movie, we see that somebody else wants to take the embryos of these dinosaurs, or the eggs. You know what I mean? And basically take them so they can do their own thing. So we've gotten to that part in this book. It's basically talking about the fact that this company copies other companies to compete with them, to try to, you know, like, they're doing revolutionary scientific research, and this company is just piggybacking off of it. And they're like, okay, we can do that. Like, they're gonna make a lot of money off of it, so if they can do that, we can do that. So the thing is that Hammond and his company InGen is 5 years ahead of everyone, and they're like, we're never gonna be able to catch up to them, like, no matter what. And they're talking, this is what I mean by this company doing this. Like, we can't, if we do end up genetically modifying animals to look like woolly mammoths and dinosaurs and everything, like, where do those go? Like, yeah, they're gonna be real animals, but like, you can't send them back into the ecosystem, because that's gonna disrupt everything, and the food chain is gonna go insane, because you already have your natural, like, structure of things. Like, introducing something that was extinct millions of years ago not coming back is, like, obviously gonna disrupt this change anyway. So from there, you're not gonna be sending them out into nature again. You are going to create a zoo or a park, no doubt about it. Like, I'm sure they have their missions. I haven't looked at anything like that. I'm sure they have their mission statement of what they're trying to do. But I'm just saying, if you can do it, like that has something that happened in this book, somebody else can do it, and they're gonna start researching that, and they're gonna create a zoo, or they're gonna create a park. And it ties into like the theme of greed, because this company is like, yeah, they're gonna patent their dinosaurs, so we have to do that first before they get the patent, because if that happens, then you can't patent an animal, but you can patent what you did to make that animal. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing science that nobody else is doing. So they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna read you this. They're talking about what they've done with dinosaurs. Coincidentally, my case broke before I went to Mexico, and I put on this case that I had. So we're really just on the theme of dinosaurs. This was not intended whatsoever, but that's funny. He goes, what they've done is to build the single greatest tourist attraction in the history of the world. As you know, zoos are extremely popular, blah, blah, blah. And for this zoo, InGen can charge whatever they want, which is true. $2,000 a day, $10,000 a day, and then there's merchandising, picture books, t-shirts, video games, caps, stuffed toys, comic books, and pets. Pets? Of course, if InGen can make a full-size dinosaur, they can also make pygmy dinosaurs as I don't know why I can't say it, as household pets. And then it continues to say that InGen will engineer them so the pet dinosaurs can only eat InGen pet food. And I haven't heard a lot about Hammond's character right now. We just got like an introduction to him, but in the movie, I took him as this guy who was just trying to create something like great so people can have a great experience. Like, imagine seeing a dinosaur for the first time. Like, that would be so cool. And in my head, he just wanted to create something fun for families. I don't know if his character differs here, but I'm just saying, like, this company is talking in the most like money hungry way, which is like how companies work in the first place. But like right now, Hammond could be like a really nice guy just trying to make dinosaurs to create an experience for families, and they're creating all of this other stuff, you know what I mean? And we kind of get a look into Hammond's character in the last few pages, because he was like, in order to make a great business out of this, you basically have to lower the amount of people you hire to run the park, because that's how you make money. So like, we know they've computer automated a lot of the inner workings of this park, which is how things go wrong, first of all. Because no, just in general, like, what if like the power went out? Dinosaurs would be everywhere, just like what happened here. So I feel like that was inevitable, and that is what Ian Malcolm like says, like the chaos theory. Like, if something's gonna go wrong, it will go wrong, I feel. Also, can we talk about Ian Malcolm for a minute? I read him in a Jeff Goldblum voice. That is how I picture him, and that is how he sounds in my head. But also, something I wanted to talk about, we're getting no hint of a romance or a relationship between Ellie and Alan, which is interesting because, as we know, like, I'm not sure if they were married in the movie, but they have that whole, I think they were married, that she wanted kids and he didn't. And that was that whole situation. But I'm getting no hint of the fact that they're in a relationship right now. He's just a paleontologist and she's the botanist, and they're just working together. But there's no, hint that they're romantically entangled, if you know what I mean. That is what I wanted to talk to you about today. I was supposed to read more last night, but then I got distracted. I went to sleep late, but I didn't read more. But I will see you later. And that's the TikTok I wanted to cover today, just because I found it oddly adjacent to what we're reading about. Kind of crazy that after everyone's saying we shouldn't do this, we're not doing this. Like, I am their Ian Malcolm. That is all I wanted to talk about today. I just can't believe this is something that I found out this morning. Anyway, that's all. I will see you later, and please don't sue me if you are this company. This is all alleged. First of all, I'm just talking in possible outcomes. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Okay, bye. they're starting to touch on the fact that Grant would be out of a job basically because now these dinosaurs are here. Grant's field of study was going to change instantly. The paleontology study of dinosaurs was finished because now it's obsolete with these new dinosaurs being introduced. Hey, different setup. I know, we're not on my bed or on the couch or anything. I'm just here. I finished filming another video, so I thought I would just talk to you. Anyway, it's been a couple days since we last caught up, and I'm now halfway through. Let me pick this brick of a book up. But yeah, we're halfway through. Yeah, I didn't read much today is what I'm realizing. 14 pages. Disappointing for me. But a few things I wanted to talk about and a few things that are different from the movie that I realized. One thing that I feel like was really important to the movie is the fact that Ellie and Alan are in a relationship and she wants kids and he doesn't like them. Guess what? Grant likes kids, and I feel like that was a huge deviation from the movie because that's very like family based, him getting to bond with these kids that he's stuck on this island with, and you think by the end that he's like kind of grown on the idea of having kids, but in the next one or the third one you realize that they're not together anymore. But that is something I thought was crazy because that really added to the movie, and I wanted to read you this. Grant walked with Ellie and Malcolm around the back of the main building with kids tagging along. Grant liked kids. It was impossible not to like any group so openly enthusiastic about dinosaurs. Grant used to watch the kids in the museums as they stared open-mouthed at the big skeletons rising above them. That was surprising to me when I read it. Look at my face. Shocked. Baffled. Also, something small, but something that I wanted to know is the ages of these kids are different from the movie. And can I just say, that little girl, now, you know the sister? Yeah, she's around 8 years old in the book. She's getting on my nerves. She's kind of annoying. She keeps saying that she's hungry. I'm like, girl, what do you want me to do? We're out here on a tour. Stop saying that we're hungry. We're going back. They're not really gonna get back, but you know, girl, calm down. Oh, guess what? Dinosaur wrecked the car. You know what she's thinking about? I'm hungry. Girl, aren't we all? Hammond, I want to talk about him. I don't really remember much of his character in the movie other than the fact that he was really excited to open up the gates of his park to kids and like families to like the dinosaurs. But I have to say, in this book, he's kind of arrogant. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, this man thinks that everything's gonna work out for the best. And girly pop, so many people are telling you that you should be doing this, this, and that. People that you hired to be specialists in that area, and you're just not listening to them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's your money, it's your park, but like at the same time, these people really know what they're talking about. Like, maybe you should be taking advice from them, but this man is like, no, it's gonna work out, don't worry guys. If an animal like that gets out, there'd be no stopping it. No stopping it, no. Huge with no natural enemies. In the control room, Hammond said, damn those people, they're so negative. Wu said, they're still going on and on about an animal escaping. I don't understand. They must have seen by now. We have everything under control. We've engineered the animals and engineered the resort. It's that Malcolm. He's behind it all. He was against us from the start, you know. He's got his theory that complex systems can't be controlled and nature can't be imitated. I don't know what his problem is. We're just making zoos. We're just making zoos. These are dinosaurs. Also, this is someone that he invited to the island. Like, Hammond is talking about Malcolm, like, he's the root of why these people are all worried about security. I fear that's just the natural way the brain works. Like, if you see dinosaurs, you're going to be working out how they can escape because they're huge and they haven't been alive for thousands of years, and it's not Malcolm. Also, something else I feel like I should be telling you is that this book tells you a lot about logistics, DNA structures, safety, computer systems, and it's not like I'm bored. Theoretically, I feel like I should be bored, but I feel like I'm very interested in how this park runs and how things eventually go wrong, because I know that it's gonna go wrong. So I'm like very interested in knowing all the safety stuff that they put into this that just goes down the crapper. Because they think they have everything so under control, and honestly they had me convinced they had everything under control, but you're reading, and as you're reading through the book you find out what went wrong, and I'm like, oh. And that's why I think it's interesting, because theoretically I feel like I should be bored, and I would be bored I feel like in any other book, but this one I'm like invested. I keep saying, I feel like in every video I say I'm invested in something, but I'm just interested in what's going on in the logistical sense for everything. One instance about this is the amount of dinosaurs there are on the island. We know that there's supposed to be 238 dinosaurs, and they have this system that counts all of the dinosaurs on the island to make sure that none go missing. And I'm like, okay, good idea. You know, if one gets off the island. But guess what? There is a flaw in the system, because I'm gonna explain. I have to read this to you because I feel like I'm not gonna explain it very well. Computer allows the operator to enter an expected number of animals in order to make the counting process faster, but it's convenience, not a flaw. He's right. We always just use the base count of 238 because we assumed there couldn't be more, because they thought that these dinosaurs couldn't breed. Okay, so they're like, there's no way they can reproduce. There's only ever going to be 238 dinosaurs on this island. So Malcolm has the idea of putting the expected number of dinosaurs to be 300, just to see if there's more dinosaurs on the island. And it says there are not 300 dinosaurs on the island, but as this machine is calculating, it says 292, as opposed to the 238 dinosaurs that they thought they had on this island. Now you see the flaw in your procedures, Malcolm said. You only tracked the expected number of dinosaurs. You were worried about losing animals, and your procedures were designed to advise you instantly if you had less than the expected number. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was you had more than the expected number. So even if one went missing, you would never know because your expected number is 238. And even with one missing, you're still going to have the expected number of 238 because there are a total of 292 dinosaurs on this island. Flaw in the system. Malcolm, so far, 1 point as of this, but really 2 points with that dinosaur whole thing happening. The T-Rex, I mean, getting out, the system failing, everything. Just Malcolm wins this whole book, I feel. So then, of course, watching the movie, we know that this happens because of the frog DNA that they put into the structure of the dinosaur DNA, because frogs can change their gender at anytime they want, I want to say, but frogs have the ability. I googled it. In Jurassic Park, dinosaurs are able to change to reproduce because they have frog DNA, which gives them the ability to switch genders. However, unlikely in real life. Something else I want to touch on is Hammond saying he would never help mankind, which adds to his character because I feel like those words never came out of his mouth in the movie. I keep comparing this to the movie, I have to stop, but it's just interesting when I watch something and I know that, I feel like, well, and then I read the source material and I'm like, that is quite a difference. So he kind of makes the comparison of pharmaceutical companies and how they could have a medicine that could cure a disease and they could basically charge whatever they wanted for it, but the public would be outraged, rightfully so. And he was like, well, they should be grateful that they have it. And I was like, you know what I mean? It says, still, people aren't going to pay $1,000 for a dose for needed medication. They won't be grateful. They'll be outraged. Blue Cross isn't going to pay for it. They'll screen highway robbery, so something will happen. Your patent application will be denied. Your permits will be delayed. So basically he's saying if you work for a pharmaceutical company, you come up with this drug, you're going to charge multiple thousands of dollars for it. Blue Cross isn't going to approve it. FDA isn't going to approve it because no one's going to buy it, and that's a loss. And the public won't be grateful. Ugh. Wu had heard the argument before and knew Hammond was right. Some new bioengineered pharmaceuticals had indeed suffered inexplicable delays and patent problems. Now, think how different it is when you're making entertainment. This is Hammond. No one needs entertainment. That's not a matter for government intervention. If I charge $5,000 a day for my park, who's gonna stop me? After all, nobody needs to come here, and far from being highway robbery, a costly price tag actually increases the appeal of the park. Blah, blah, blah. It becomes a status symbol. He says, personally, I would never help mankind after his whole pharmaceutical debate, because I feel like he thinks the public wouldn't be grateful that he created a drug to solve a terminal illness, even though he wants to charge thousands of dollars for it. Just saying that he wouldn't help mankind is just not a good look. Also, here we're getting more about his character, because you remember when I said that this other company was like, oh, they've created a huge money-making machine, like these dinosaurs can be patented, you can sell them as pets, you can charge whatever you want for an entry fee for the park and all this stuff. And I just, at that point, I hadn't had enough about Hammond's character to say that he would do all of this stuff, because I feel like he was just in it for the love of dinosaurs. Yeah, way to go. But he says that he actually purchased an island in Guam for Jurassic Park Japan. Construction will begin in the next 2 parks within the next year. So he's gonna make Jurassic Park Japan and Jurassic Park Europe. That again could be his love for dinosaurs, but I just find him, like, that whole thing, especially with him being arrogant, not listening to anyone, and it just rubs me the wrong way, and I'm not on his side. Like, even in the movie, he was like saying, oh, like this thing is gonna really work out. Like, he never got along with Malcolm very much, but I thought he just really liked dinosaurs, and now I'm just like, no, you're a little sketchy. Yeah, those are my updates. Also, Nedry, I feel like that's how you pronounce his name. Yeah, he died. You know how in the movie he gets attacked by little dinosaurs? Yeah, in this one he's attacked by a 10-foot dinosaur, and I feel like he died way more gruesomely in this book than he did in the movie. I feel like that was more gruesome. But yeah, the whole Jeep, well, the whole tour Jeep T-Rex thing happened, and that's where I am right now. So I'm halfway through. We're gonna finish this week, and I'll let you know thoughts along the way and a final rating. But yeah, I'll catch up with you next time. So I'll be back.
Bye. A few inches later.
Hi. So this is actually weird for me. It's been 2 weeks since I finished this. I actually just finished Sunrise on the Reaping. Isn't that crazy? Kind of a crossover here. If you want to check this out, video's already out. But yeah, I want to talk about this with you because I have a lot to say about this too. I wrote down everything I wanted to talk about, and I'm just here to sit back and talk about everything. I really don't remember where I left off with you, but I'm just gonna go kind of in timeline order as I've written this to kind of talk about that stuff. While I was reading this, I find out that Grant had a wife who died. And he is in no way dating, and I feel like we did know that Ellie had a fiance that I just completely forgot about and then was just reminded like towards like the middle to end of the book. She's engaged to a doctor and has no romantic involvement with Grant. I feel like that's a deviation from, no, the movie's a deviation from this, because I know for a fact that they were kind of together in that. I know apparently there's a discourse on that apparently, which I don't know why, because I feel like in the movie I saw Malcolm ask Grant, oh, so you and Ellie are, and Grant was like, yeah, basically saying like they were together. So I don't know, I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about the review at the end, because I feel a certain type of way about the movie and the book in like different ways. So we'll get into that. So they're trying to find a way to take down the T-Rex, and they only have tranquilizers. And Hammond is like, you don't have bigger guns? You ordered like 3 bigger guns. And Muldoon was like, yeah, we did, but Nedry took them with him and now they're missing. And he was like, so you only had that? And Muldoon was like, that's not my problem. Like, I told you that we should have gotten like guns and something to kind of ensure that, like basically saying that we should have done something to ensure that this was not going to happen, and even if it did, there was a way to stop these dinosaurs. And he's like, well, you didn't want us to injure your animals. And Hammond is complaining about this, and you're like, sorry. This is where Hammond starts to get on my nerves, because I'm like, dude, I know you're worried about this whole project that you have set in place, but people are dying. Stop complaining, especially about Ian Malcolm. He was right. You hate to admit it, but he was right. And you saying like, oh, you don't have the guns? Yeah, it's because of you we don't have these guns, because you didn't want people to injure your animals. Like, I get heated about this, especially Hammond, because he gets on my nerves. He really does. Okay, something I found really interesting in this book was the aviary chapter. Okay, this was something I feel like would have been a great addition to the movie. So they had built a treetop lodge. It was in construction, and basically it was somewhere where people were going to be able to go see them up close at flight level. And it's honestly, I am a sucker for pterodactyls. I think it might be one of my favorite dinosaurs. Like, I find them really interesting. So I just like that. But when they were building this, they didn't realize that the pterodactyls were territorial. So these pterodactyls start to attack the construction workers who are working on this. And this is important because Grant and the kids are going through the aviary. Listen, I really like this sequence. The pterodactyls get into the building, they tuck in their wings, and they dive into the dome, and they start attacking Grant and the kids. And obviously, Grant and the kids don't know about the pterodactyls or about this area because it was never on the tour. I can't blame Hammond for this. Like, it was the tour, you didn't expect this to happen. Like, I get why you didn't show them. Still would have been beneficial, but like, I would have loved this to see this sequence like in the movie and like play out. I just like pterodactyls, what can I say? The reason why Hammond got on my nerves this time was because the power went out again and the raptors got out. They're kind of gonna pull together a team to kind of, you know, find out where they are and like set them in place. And Hammond has the audacity to go, but what are you gonna do to my animals? The animals shouldn't be, I'm sorry, but the animals in this case should not be the main concern because they can protect themselves. Now, the question you're posing is, how are you gonna protect yourselves? We don't have any guns. It's not about what we're gonna do with them. Like, I feel like everything was gonna, in my head, everything was gonna work out really well for those raptors. The main concern is the people. I get this is like, in a sense, it's not even your life's work. It's been 5 years. Like, it's the biggest thing you've ever done. But like, we have eggs. We can grow this again if you wanted to. Like, care about the people. Hammond needs to become a people person and care about what happens to people's well-being because he does not give a crap. Also, I noted that I was reminded more than halfway throughout this book that Grant was wearing cowboy boots, a Hawaiian t-shirt, and jeans. He looks way cooler in the movie. He's wearing like his little like, I feel like he looks like someone who should be like in the dinosaur environment, but just seeing the picture of Grant with a Hawaiian t-shirt, jeans, and cowboy boots was like a sight to me. Like, this guy's like running away from dinosaurs, doing his best to keep these kids alive. For some reason, that was just a really funny thing for me to just remember that image of him. Hammond died. I wasn't attached to him in any way, shape, or form, and I was kind of happy about it. I was like, bye. Like, he has such a dismissal for human life. Like, you would expect him to be at least a little bit concerned, but no. Like, especially about his grandkids, I feel like at one point, like, yeah, he was like worried, but the kids were trying to kind of like to turn on the systems for the electrical fence because the raptors were trying to get into Ian Malcolm's room from the top. And I think at one point he was like, oh, I thought they were like smarter than this. These are children. These are kids who are trying to turn this on for you. Like, what? Another death that happened was Ian Malcolm's. I feel like I always have to say Ian Malcolm, but Malcolm died. I was not happy about that. He does survive in the movies. I just felt like he deserved to live. Like, he deserved to be like, he did tell them, like, I told you so, but like, I feel like he deserved to live. Like, he was telling these people minute after minute that this was not a good idea. Nobody listened to him. Nobody cared. Especially Hammond. What can I say? And Hammond died by his own dinosaurs. Not even the violent ones. The compies, the ones that eat, like, kind of like hurt animals. They eat, like, the remains of other things. They're kind of like the cleaner uppers of the island. But yeah, I always go back to Hammond. What can I say? Ian Malcolm, I'm sorry. R.I.P. You didn't deserve it. And I was not happy about it. So the book ends with them in Costa Rica, and it brings up the fact, once again, that dinosaurs are on the island. And I literally still do not know how they got there. I have read 400 pages of this book and have gotten no details about how these dinosaurs ended up on the island. I feel like maybe we can hypothesize that they went on a boat, because in this book, Grant is trying to get back to them by a certain hour because raptors had gotten on the boat from the island back to Costa Rica. But the boat was turned back around. So maybe that's like something that happened, like they got on the boat and they sneaked onto like the island, like Costa Rica, and that's how they got there. But I feel like we don't have a consensus, and I feel like maybe they don't even know how they got there, but I'm just still wondering that. But like, after 400 pages, we don't even like get a hint of how those dinosaurs got there in the first place. But I think right now I'll just choose to believe that they hitched a ride on a boat. That's my best hypothesis. This kind of flows us in to our rating, because when I was starting to get towards the end, about 10 pages or so away, I started thinking about what I would rate this, and I realized that it would be in the 3-star range. And I really wanted to know why I was gonna rate it in the 3-star range, and honestly I really liked the movie, and that's when I thought about the movie compared to the book, and I realized that what this was missing was character depth. I don't want to always relate this back to the movie, but in this case I feel like it's kind of important. Grant, I've said this multiple times, Grant in the movie was with Ellie. There's discourse on this, talk amongst yourselves if you want to, but I truly do believe that he was together with Ellie and she wanted kids and he didn't. And the movie pushes Grant together with these 2 kids and he is forced to protect them and take care of them, and I feel like they saw him in that movie as sort of a father figure. Like, they were forced to bond together and to rely on him, and I really like the relationship that Grant built with these kids. And we don't get basically any of that kind of relationship in this book, besides of like in the movie it's very obvious that Tim looks up to Grant as a role model because, you know, he wrote a book, like he's so into dinosaurs, like he looks up to this man. But here, like, he's like, oh yeah, like I read your book, like it was really interesting, and like he likes him in that way, but nothing to the extent like he's a super fan. But then also like he grows to like care about him, I feel, especially like Grant taking care of them. They bond, trauma bond, but they bond together in this experience and running away from dinosaurs and everything. Like, I feel like there was more emotion in the movies that there was in the book, and while the book does have more characters, I feel like I don't know anything about them besides the role that they play on the island. Like, oh, we have Muldoon, he knows a lot about the animals. Oh, Grant, the dinosaur guy, we know like a little bit more about him, like he's a widower, but we know nothing about him. It's very surface level. Like, I don't have the relationship strength between like even him and Ellie. Like, he knows Ellie, like their student teacher, and you know, they spend a lot of time together, but I don't know anything about the relationship. Like, yeah, they know each other, they work well together, but like, are they friends? Like, you know, is there something more? Not something more in their relationship in specific, but is there something like that shows that they are like have a strong relationship and they care about each other and like how things work out, you know? So like, while in the book we're introduced to more characters, we don't really know much about them besides the role that they serve on the island, or for the plot, I mean. So Malcolm is the mathematician, Grant is the dinosaur guy, Gennaro is the lawyer, but we don't learn anything about who they are as a person. And if we don't know who they are like as a person besides like the surface level thing that they do for the plot, then we don't have any emotional ties to them, and we don't get hit as hard if they make it or they don't make it. You're always rooting for people like not to die, but like if they do die, you're like, oh dang, like he's dead. But like, you're not like, oh my god, like I really cared about this character, he's not gonna be able to do this when he gets back home, or like there's nothing, you know, there's nothing to latch onto. And I feel like if there's no emotional depth, there are also less stakes. Like, if you really cared about everyone, you'd be like, so much is at stake. Okay, we kind of get that with the dinosaurs. Like, there is a stake there because the dinosaurs are gonna get on the island, they're gonna like do their island thing, like I don't know, but like that wasn't enough for me. Like, I wanted more. I wanted to care about characters. I wanted to be emotionally involved. That's all I wanted. So when I rated this on Goodreads, I found that I was in the minority of the people who rated this book. They're usually around the 4 to 5 star range, but for me, I feel like it was just the lack of attachment that I felt to the characters that hindered my experience reading this book, because again, there were stakes, but not as much as there would have been had I been emotionally tied to these people. So I did give this book a 3.6 out of 5 stars. This was 2 weeks ago, but now I could give it a 3.5, but I'm gonna leave it as where I did at a 3.6 out of 5 stars. And even then, I was trying to find a reason to rate it 3.7 because it feels like better, closer to 4 stars, closer to like an overall like really good book, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't find a reason to justify 3.7. I know it's only 0.1 higher, but for me, I feel like that's a lot. while there is action in this book, listen, again, I hate to say this, but I really like the way that the action was depicted in the movie in the 90s. I like the way that they played out in the movies. I like the way that I really like that movie, okay? But I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna say that I hold this movie like on a really high pedestal, that nothing would have ever lived up to this, because I really did think that this was gonna be better than the movie, just because I thought the movie was good and I thought this was gonna be like so much better. I didn't come into this thinking like, oh, it's not as good as the movie, because I never do that. I feel like books are always better than movies, but yeah, just something like this book wasn't a complete hit for me. But this was a 3.6 out of 5 stars for me. By no means a bad rating. And I do have to say that I'm kind of like interested in the second book, The Lost World, because I don't know where we go from here. The second movie was about Ian Malcolm, but the third movie, which is another one of my favorites out of like all of the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movies, is the one with the pterodactyls and Grant going back to the island to find the missing boy. And I kind of hope that that's what the second book here is, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know the way things go from here, but I'm still interested to read it, and I will be reading it at some point. It won't be my next read, but I'll still read it. I'm still interested, you know? But yeah. I'm gonna go into my non-spoiler review now, but yeah, that's all I have for you today. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe maybe, and if you want to keep up with me anywhere else, all my socials are linked down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Hello! Welcome to the non-spoiler review for Jurassic Park. I have things I want to talk to you about. Let's start off with the positive, okay? In the beginning, I really liked how the story was structured. So you kind of start off with one character. You don't get right into the meat of the story right away. So you start off with one character, and then throughout the chapter, they tell you a little bit more, and by the end of the chapter, it'll tell you about some person who's also important to what they're trying to convey. And they end on that person, and then that person starts the journey to the next chapter. And this happens especially in the beginning and kind of comes again towards the end with the characters that we do know, but I thought that was a very interesting way, and I thought it flowed very smoothly, and it was really nice to read because I did notice it, and I really liked the flow of the story at that point. Because you have this one person, we go through this process with them, we meet another person, and then that person is the one that we follow to the next chapter, and then that person meets someone else who's important, and eventually that stops and we get into like the meat of the story, but it starts to kind of go that way. Like, this book isn't like third person, so we do get like everyone's kind of like journey throughout this, and I really like the way that flowed. And obviously everyone who we follow is important, especially in the beginning, and it's really nice like to see how all of this stuff added together to get us to where we needed to be. So Jurassic Park has a really good sense of mystery, especially if you're going into this completely blind. I mean, like, never seeing the movies like at all. Like, the mystery in this, like, even I was thinking about it like as I was reading, like, if I'm reading this for the first time, I'm genuinely wondering what happened. Like, what happened, period. I don't want to say anything else, but I'm like, dude, if I was reading this for the first time, like, imagine when this was published, picking this up, reading it like Jurassic Park, being like, whoa, like, it's not mysterious like in a kind of like murder mystery way, but like mysterious because you're trying to unfold what happened yourself, you know? Like, you're getting pieces of information, but it's not painting the whole picture. So you're still missing gaps, and you're like, what went wrong? So something I do feel like I have to touch on is the fact that Jurassic Park had a lot of science talk. In the movie, did you watch the movie? But in the movie we get like an explanation, a very short explanation about the science behind what has occurred. And in this book, we get this times 20. It tells us everything. I am not a sci-fi girl, okay? At all. I don't classify myself as that. I read a few sci-fi books that I didn't really vibe with, but even with that being the case, I was interested in the science behind the development of this scientific research and kind of how they developed it. How they developed what they developed. Can I talk about it? This book is about dinosaurs. They developed dinosaurs, okay? I feel like you know that. So I was just interested in the process of how they made them and they do tell you, basically, they tell you a lot about the science. You might not be into science, but I don't know, for me, I was really engaged with it, and I was really intrigued, and actually did read through, like, it didn't waver my attention span, because I was like actually genuinely interested in how these people did what they did. I was trying to find out as much as I could so I could figure out how the events unfolded. Even with knowing like what I did with the movies, like I've watched all of the movies, I was like, this could differ in some way. Like I still want to know like how this unfolded. Maybe there was more to the story than what was in the movies, and I was just intrigued by the science talk. I'm usually not, but I was. So this really did good in that department, at least for me. Maybe it's different for you and you really don't care about how these dinosaurs got developed, and if you're not, then maybe this could drag for you. It definitely would drag for you, actually. They talk about it quite a lot. So maybe take that into consideration when if you're deciding to pick this up or not. But let's talk about characters and kind of action, okay? The characters for me in the movie, the first movie, had depth. I don't want to talk too much about that, but in this book I feel like you meet these people on the island and you know the role that they play there, but you don't know who they are as a person. So I feel like if you don't know who they are as a person, like their values, any family that they may have, their relationships with other people maybe on this island, or like deeper relationships or relationships that they have with family, loved ones anywhere else, that we don't develop a kind of emotional attachment to them. And in a action-packed books where honestly it's like about survival, like you don't get attached to them, so you don't really care if they make it or not. Like somebody might make it, somebody might not, but if they don't make it, you're like, oh dang, like too bad, but you're not like, I don't want to say devastated, but you're not like at least a little bit hurt that they died. But I feel like for me, not caring about these characters really hindered the stakes, because I feel like while there are other stakes in this book, I feel like it would be much more compelling and more of a thriller to kind of be like, oh, like this guy like might not make it and I care so much about him, like I hope nothing happens to him. But you're not really saying that about, I feel like, at least for me, anyone. And I feel like it would have been better if we got like a little bit more, maybe like tone down the science talk a smidge and give these characters a little bit more substance. So let's move on to dinosaur action. We do get dinosaur action in this book, but I feel like the movie did a better job of creating more compelling scenes than the book. Maybe it's because it's like visual, but like I do see, like, you know how like when you read, I do see things happen in my head. Like I'm reading and I'm like kind of seeing it play out. So I see that as well. And I do wish like one or two more scenes would have made it into the movie. But overall, I feel like the scenes in the movie were really good, okay? The first one, I loved the first movie, okay? But that's not to say that when I went into this, I held the movie like on this high pedestal thinking that this book would never live up to it. If anything, I thought like, oh, the book is always better than the movie. I can't wait to get into this and to see. Again, I feel like I want to know more about the characters, and I was like, oh, maybe we'll learn more about like Grant or like another person and, you know, get a little variety. But I didn't really get that at all. So that is kind of like my feelings on Jurassic Park without talking about spoilers. Nothing too in depth, just very surface level. But yeah, I gave this a 3.6 out of 5 stars. This is a 2-in-1, so there is a second book, which I do feel like either way I will be reading. Even though I did give it a 3.6, by no means a bad rating whatsoever, but I'm still intrigued into what happens next. But yeah, that's all I have to say. So if you liked the video, give me a like, subscribe maybe, and if you want to keep up with me anywhere else, I have all my socials linked down below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!